Well, it's a catch-22 situation, it seems, in the country currently. Do you get a gun to defend yourself or follow what the government is trying to do, that is to disarm the majority of the population as a crime prevention strategy? But what about illegal guns that have flooded our streets? Kris Parteka from Gun Owners South Africa is joining us now on the Midday View. The issue, Kris, good afternoon. The issue of owning a gun is not as simple as that. It goes with a lot of responsibility. Am I right?
That is correct. So basically, to get a gun is rather difficult in the country. There are many loopholes that you have to jump through. However, you can only use the gun also in very specific circumstances to protect your life. Basically, an unlawful attack needs to be commenced against you, a third person, or legally recognized interest, and that attack must be unlawful.
Now, I just interviewed Charlie Peterson. He's a life coach and author. He and his family were attacked at gunpoint in their home in Centurion in Tshwane in April. I'm sure there's many other households in South Africa that have gone through the same ordeal. And he made a comment just a short while ago. He said after the attack at their home, his wife said, let's get a gun. But it's not as easy as that, because people are looking to guns, to owning guns maybe as a mechanism for self-defense. Does it help?
Well, that depends on the circumstances, of course. A gun by itself won't do anything if it's just sitting there. You need to know how to effectively employ it as a defensive tool in the home. If it's sitting in a safe, it can't do anything. But if you are prepared, you have the necessary security measures to know exactly, or to at least slightly prepare yourself for an attack, then a gun does indeed assist you.
Now, the issue of owning a gun legally in South Africa, you say, is a challenge. We're seeing lots of illegal guns, and people who campaign against gun ownership say those guns that we regard as illegal today were legal yesterday. So what's the responsibility of a gun owner to ensure that the weapon doesn't end up in the wrong hands?
Well, basically, in terms of the act, when it's not under your immediate control, such as in your holstered on your body, or in a bag that is in close vicinity to you, it needs to be locked up in a prescribed safe.
Okay, so that's the only way you have to look after it. You must keep it away in a safe. From using it, you need to go for proper training.
Well, in terms of our current act, before you even embark on the process to obtain a firearm, you need to go for the proper training. It's a prescribed training in terms of the act. Only then can you apply for what is known as a competency certificate. And only after you obtain that competency can you apply for a firearm license. And this process takes pretty much close to 8 months to 2 years.
So what do you say as a Gun Owners Association to somebody who says, listen, we've been attacked and I'm tired of this, I'm hurtful, I need a gun to defend myself and my family? What's the best advice you give to somebody like that?
Well, I would advise them to definitely approach their nearest firearm dealer, inquire about getting the prescribed training, and begin the process on getting yourself armed. It is just a further step in your defensive, in your whole net of defensive means. You should reinforce your house. You should get burglar alarms, higher walls. It is just a tool in your arsenal to defend your life and those of your loved ones.
Yeah. So now, let's say you've done that training, then you've managed to go through that process that can last up to 2 years. For example, as you say, you are now got your competency certificate, you've ticked all the right boxes, you've got a gun in your home, you're looking after it very well, you're following the law, and an intruder comes in and you shoot and kill them in your house. What does the law say about that? Are you then in big trouble? Are you going to be facing a murder charge?
Well, basically, it depends entirely on the circumstances. Every case is examined individually. At first, in an unnatural death, an inquest docket is opened, and the prosecutor considers the case before him. Normally, in a private defense situation, there must have been an unlawful attack, either immediate or having already commenced against yourself or a loved one, and that attack must be unlawful. In your case, in the case that you explained, it was an intruder in your home. Now, just because there's an intruder in your home does not mean there is an unlawful attack against your person or a third party. that burglar, the moment you appear or you make some noise, you may be startled and run away. Then, therefore, there was no unlawful attack. So they need to, the prosecutor basically analyzes the case specifically for what occurred. The investigation needs to happen, and they need to pretty much find out whether the attack was justified. And in this case, if you shoot him, it'll have to be determined whether it was necessary to shoot that intruder to protect your life or the lives of your loved ones. It isn't taken in isolation, merely that there's an intruder, automatically you can or cannot shoot them.
So every case will be looked at individually, and all those factors will have to be considered. There was a recent incident in the public space where a private citizen had to use their gun to protect some people and and scare away the criminals. What does the law says there? Can I then, if I've got my gun lawfully and I'm witnessing a crime in public and it's dangerous, can I just draw my gun from my holster and start firing a warning shot, for example?
Well, our law makes no provision for a warning shot per se. However, you need to take those elements that I explained earlier into account. If there's an unlawful attack against yourself or a third party and it's immediately commenced, you can, of course, intervene. However, you must take into account that the fact that you may be prosecuted. Remember that you are commencing a private defense situation where you are protecting a third party from an unlawful attack. However, you may still, well, the prosecution may be attempted against you. You may well be found innocent of the act, but it is still a chance of a prosecution.
Kris Parteka from the Gun Owners Association, thank you very much for your insights and responses here this afternoon.